Hey folks, welcome back. In this tutorial we're going to look at parenting in After Effects. Now, to describe parenting in its broadest terms, parenting is the fairly simple act of attaching one layer to the movements and animations of another layer. So that if you've got two layers moving around the screen, you don't have to go through the sort of rather tedious process of animating them both twice. You can animate one of the layers and link another layer to it. Now, to get us started, I've got a red solid I've put in the timeline here. I'm going to press P to open the position keyframe and set a keyframe for a position like so. Go forward 1 second. Again, I'm going to be fairly rough about this, it's not going to be too precise. Go forward 2 seconds and then 3 and then up to 4 seconds. And that'll do. Very simple piece of animation. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is draw a simple, I think I'll do actually probably just another solid will do. I'll do a different colour. So we'll go to Layer, New, and Solid, and I'm going to create a black square. I'll do. Click on OK. Click on OK again, and let's just reduce the size of it, like so. A little baby sort of black square. So let's have a look at the movement of the larger red square, so simply moving around the screen. Now we want the black square to move with it. Now you could actually go into the black square and add the keyframes along the timeline, but you're doubling your workflow. It's going to take quite a while to do that. So what you can do is you can actually do a technique that's known as parenting. So you can grab this layer, and in this case I'm going to put it probably there, and it will actually move around with the layer. Now if you don't have the parenting column down here, just try toggling your switches like so. If it's still not there, which is the case in point with me, you may have actually deselected it. So click on here, go to columns and just switch on parent, and there's the parent facility. And again, it's fairly straightforward and easy to do. I'm going to select this drop down menu here under the column that says parent. Select the red solid, and that means now that this black solid, and apologies I've got it labelled red solid, let's just change that, let's just call it black, say what it is. That means that this black solid is now parented to the larger red solid, which means that now they'll move around together. And if you've got multiple objects, it saves a hell of a lot of time. You can do it more than once. So as an example, I can go to Layer, New, Solid again. Let's call this Black 2. And let's click on OK. So we've got another one. Let's make this maybe a slightly longer rectangle. We can park it there. And then here's our Black 2 rectangle. We can go to Parent and select Red Solid. And that will move with it as well. So it's particularly useful for animation. It doesn't work that well on things like effects, and I'll probably explain that in the next tutorial, but it's very good for linking multiple objects together when they move around the screen. Another thing you might want to consider is this, and I'm just going to deselect parent there and put it back to none, deselect parent and put it back to none here. You've also got the option of this thing called the pick whip. You can drag the pick whip from here, link it to the red solid, and that is now parented to the red solid. I'll do the same here. So some people prefer to use the pick whip. It's just a more sort of hands-on way of doing it, I guess. You've got the option of the drop-down menu or the pick whip here if you wish. Now, one final word of note. Remember, it's the red solid that's doing the animating, and the two black solids are moving with it. So it is like a parent and a child. The red solid is the parent. These here are the children. So when you animate the red solid, the children will follow. But remember, like children, you can click on them individually and they can still animate on their own, as you can see. However, the minute I grab the red solid, they will always move, as you can see, with it. So when the parent moves, the child moves. So any animation adjustments you make to the parent layer, the child will follow with it. But, like children, they're still independent. You can click on them and they can move on their own. So if I put them there, I've moved them, but if I click back on the parent, even though I've moved them, they'll still move when the parent moves. Okay folks, hope you found that useful. What I'm probably going to do in the next tutorial is show you how parenting doesn't always work. Parenting is very good for animation, but it might trip you up a little bit if you're trying to do things like parenting effects, which it's not really designed for. And that's when we'll probably look at using adjustment layers and pre-composing. So I'll see you in that tutorial. Thanks for listening.